Hi, this is Graphically Alex coming at you with all things fat related. If that's something that interests you, please subscribe. I'd love to have you. So today we are going to be looking at Find Food Freedom, which I had just done a conversation with Lisa. It was Monday's video, and we talked about her, and I was like, I want to look at her again. And I found this. It's pretty long, and it's really weird. And so I wanted to just go ahead and react to it because sometimes when I watch these people, I feel like I'm in a dystopian society, or I feel like it's almost like watching sci-fi or something. So I want you to enter the Twilight Zone with me today. I want to just say as well, you guys can't really see it, but in case you see, this is not anything scandalous, okay? I did gua sha so where you do skin scraping, because I've been a little bit, like, feeling a little bit sick, trying to avoid the sickness. So, yeah. And I guess last update before I get started, my appetite just went way down again very recently. So I'm totally back on the deficit and everything. I'll have to do that, and I'll have to talk about that in a health update, but I was kind of surprised. But yeah, we're back. We're back, biatches. So anyways, FA proven wrong again. Proven wrong again. Waiting for the appetite to just surge up and never come back down. It hasn't happened. Hasn't happened. My body adjusts as I lose. You myth. You myth liars. You liars. Okay. Anyways, let's go ahead and start this. If your brain dies, I want you to know I'm sorry that it died. And I want you to know that it truly is a casualty, and mine may be following you soon after. So let's go. It's enough of an intro. Let's go.
I put a video up the other day talking about how I had been to 2 funerals in 1 week, and how none of us that attended these funerals were talking about the person's physical body. We were talking about the characteristics about them that we loved, the memories that we had, and how we were gonna really struggle to accept the fact that they're actually gone. I had a few comments that rolled in like this, and I really want to acknowledge them because I think they're amazing comments. People had shared how, well, when I went to my aunt's funeral, they were saying that her body caused her death because it was so large. Or when I went to my...
It could be true. So when I hear something like that, it could be that, people, I don't know. I think we know that those in FA, they're not living in reality. Okay. So for them, there's no gray areas. There's no black and white. Like it's all black and white. So like fat versus thin, there's no difference between somebody who's 15 pounds overweight and 150 pounds overweight. When it comes to FA, they can't understand that how it affects your health. It has to do with how big you are and for what length of time you are that big. And it's kind of similar when you're losing weight, by the way, but it's not just about the number on the scale. It's how long have you had that reduction as well. And then we're not going to get into as much about the hypothyroidism, but that's also part of it too. How long have you been improved with your thyroid? That also has an effect. So all these things typically have to do with, like, I've lost 100 pounds. How long did I keep that 100 pounds gone? That matters. How long was I 100 pounds heavier? That matters. All these things matter, and it matters both ways. Like, again, I want to encourage that there can be a lot of health regain in weight loss. That's why I encourage it in those that are super morbidly obese. That's why all of you guys on the channel encourage it. You can heal. There could be some damage that lasts from it, depending on how big and how long, but still, you can regain some things in losing the weight and keeping it off for a sustained period of time. Okay, people in fat acceptance, they don't understand that. So when I hear people at a funeral were saying, oh, such and such's weight resulted in their death, it could be that they struggled with that weight for many, many years and they ended up dying early. And that would be true in that case. That would be absolutely true. She's going to do blatant reality denial. She's going to act like that has nothing to do with anything. And she's going to act like people are just hating a fat person because of their aesthetic, which is really wild for a professional to view it that way.
To my sister's funeral, my mother was making comments about how she could never lose the weight. I want to absolutely validate that the world is extremely fatphobic. There is no denying that. And as someone who resigns in a straight size body.
So she's going with the angle of the world is fatphobic. So basically, when people say things about fat people, they just hate them. She's seeing it as a form of bigotry. She's politicizing it as a form of bigotry. Or she's trying to create rhetoric about it by saying that if you comment on health consequences of super morbid obesity, you are committing bigotry against a fat person. You are just hating somebody because of how they look. That is her viewpoint. It is wild. I struggle, and please let me know in the comments if you guys ever believed any of this. Please tell me like some of how, because I struggle with seeing it as a form of bigotry at all. Like, it's very difficult. So please tell me, because to me it's just kind of like reality. And again, like, she's gonna go on and on about her thin privilege. That's about as far as I got. Well, I have fat privilege. I have understood, I've experienced super morbid obesity. I've experienced being just morbidly obese now. I see a huge difference, massive difference. You know, I've stayed out of super morbid obesity. It's, you know, we're getting on around 4 months, right? I really left it towards the end of March. I've been in this level for like almost 4 months. I still am experiencing some health issues due to my weight, but they're a lot less severe, a lot less long-standing. Even in terms of my hypothyroidism, I shift through certain seasonal aspects much quicker, much faster, and much better. So it's really game-changing to be just morbidly obese for me compared to super morbidly obese. So if somebody said my weight was affecting my health, that is not at all a bigoted statement. That's just talking about reality. So unless if she's trying to argue that reality is bigoted or something, which that's a whole can of worms. I don't know if she's wanting to go down, because that's pretty weird. But I mean, that's what I'm hearing when I hear her talk. It's really bizarre. I'm going to go back a little bit.
That the world is extremely fatphobic. There is no denying that. And as someone who resigns in a straight size body, I hold thin privilege. And I know that people aren't going to speak about my body that way because it's deemed socially acceptable.
I want to know, I'm going to have a lot of questions for you guys. So get your typers ready, get your fingers ready. What do you guys think about the concept of thin privilege? Because I've heard different takes on privilege. From what I understand, privilege on a very base level understanding has to do with something that you are born with or as. So like if you're a trust fund baby, that would be privilege. Or if you are male in certain situations, or if you're of a certain race, or if you're of this or that, right? That's the kind of thing where I understand it. When it comes to weight, though, no one's fat. when they're a baby. Like, I guess everybody's fat as a baby. I don't know. I mean, unless if you're starving, which is really sad if that were to occur. But realistically, you know, I'm just not seeing it. Because if privilege is something that you can ultimately change or whatever, it kind of loses its weight, I guess, pun intended. So it's like, I don't get it. You know, it's like, I don't know. It's just, she's saying, I have thin privilege, like as if she was born thin. She's never going to be fat. She could never be fat. And a fat person is born fat and can never be thin. It's not true. She could gain weight. She could blow up like a huge balloon at one point in her life. So it's very strange logic. It's so not a thing at all.
In addition to all of that, I think it's important to recognize the 4 levels of fat phobia that exist. Our team at Find Food Freedom has worked with a speaker and consultant who helps people unlearn anti-fat bias, and they taught us about the 4 levels of fat phobia. In my previous video, when I talk about, it doesn't matter, your physical body doesn't matter, right? It's the least important thing about you. You want to leave this earth knowing how you made people feel and with precious memories. Unfortunately, when we...
Yes, but by your logic, you want to leave the earth as fast as you can. Because overindulgence or destructive ritualistic behaviors don't matter. Because they're not wrong. They're not bad. You just go for it. And if you're just a flash pan in life, it's totally fine. Like, you are trying to be gently guiding somebody off a cliff as fast as possible. I think that's disgusting, especially because you aren't even willing to, honestly, have the lady balls to be that big yourself and walk the talk. And then you're going to say, well, I'm just privileged when it comes to my weight. So, okay, so your privilege is also that you're going to live longer or have a better quality of life. When it's not even true. Because you could eat yourself fat. You absolutely could. But you won't. You won't. Because why would you? Because that would be self-destructive. But you're perfectly good with encouraging others to do it. It's evil.
We obsess about our body, it steals and robs us of so much of that when we are on this planet.
I don't think it's good to obsess over your body. I will agree with her there. But that doesn't mean that you cannot work on getting to a healthy weight.
Living our lives and trying to live out our passions and enjoy life, if we're constantly obsessed with the size of our body and thoughts about food and dieting, we can't live the life that we want when everything comes down to our self-worth being wrapped up in the size of our body. Now, again, much easier for me to say because I reside in a thin size body. I reside in a straight size body. My body is deemed socially acceptable. And I also want to acknowledge that those that live in larger bodies have way more fat shaming, oppression, and stigma done to them simply for just existing in their body.
So I really reject the term oppression in a social sense. I think that really waters down what that word means. And I think it's kind of disgusting because there is oppression, actual political, governmental oppression still occurring in the world. There are things that are really happening. There are things that have happened in the past. And they love to bring up certain groups of people. There are things that have actually really happened to people based on For example, the color of your skin, something like that, which is something that you can't change, nor should you have to, or even feel the pressure to at all. But there has been actual oppression based on that. That has not occurred in obesity. It has not occurred. So when you're talking about shame or something, just say shame. Don't say oppression. You're watering down the meaning of the word. And I find it disgusting because, like I said, people are still being oppressed to this day. And you're watering down the word.
Have the ability to unpack your belief systems around your own body and bodies in general. This is called working through that internalized fat phobia, right? How we view our own body and how we view bodies in general. Again, so much easier said than done, and it comes a lot easier to people that reside in bodies that are socially acceptable versus those who reside in larger bodies. When it comes to interpersonal fat phobia, how other people.
So, by her standard, I would probably have internalized fat phobia because I am pursuing weight loss. And I don't know. I think to me, if I were to engage in the thought exercise of fat phobia, which I'm not even like 100% on if it's even a thing, honestly. Like I've said it before, I've said the term before, I've entertained it here or there. But I think when it comes to reality, it tends to be kind of more on that, we'll just say along the lines of some toxic ritualistic behavior. I'm going to try to, be pretty censored for YouTube. But I would say that probably has more to do with it because fat phobia is something that, again, it's a weird thing because you can lose weight and you can gain weight. So I don't know. It's just kind of weird to say it about that. I would just say, body obsession, body fixation, body perfectionism, these kind of things are very negative. And I wouldn't call it fat phobia. I would just say it's an anxiety thing. It's an anxiety response, maladaptive, right? And so I think she's kind of like, when you say it this way, you kind of, again, you water things down, you make things so unclear, and she somehow puts way too much meaning into something. Like she's arguing that if you feel this way about your body, you want to governmentally and institutionally oppress every single fat person in the world. That's putting way too much meaning into it, but she's also taking all the meaning out. If you are hyperfixated on your body, you have a mental health issue that you need to take care of. So she somehow finds a way to make something much bigger, but also much smaller than what it actually is, and ultimately rendering her listener completely ineffective at actually addressing the issue, which is why I can't stand people like her. That's why I do this, because I want you to be effectual. I want you to solve the issue. I want you to know what the issue is. I want you to not go down crazy town. I don't want you to be in the twilight zone. So while I understand that my health, and to a certain extent even, there are some aesthetic goals that I do have, but the health is still way bigger on my mind. I would say that understanding that, I can still pursue weight loss without hyperfixating on my body, without hating my body, without making my body my whole identity, or my size my whole identity. I've tried to lose weight while I did that. It didn't work. I would stare in the mirror and look at every single inch lost or every single change in the shape of my body, and it would freak me out, and I would quit. I would quit losing weight because it would weird me out too much. It's not effective, and it isn't healthy. So don't. Like, I'm telling you now, if you are hyperfixating on your body, you're looking in the mirror all the time and stuff, you're probably going to be ineffective at losing the weight that you need to lose for your health, primarily as a super morbidly obese person or as an obese person. So just don't. But again, they encourage you to obsess over it further and then make it this weird political thing that I know you're not trying to oppress every fat person. That is just stupid. Politically oppress. It's stupid.
People perceive you due to the size of your body, or what they believe about you or people in general due to the size of their body. We don't have the power to change other people's belief systems. Can we plant seeds? Absolutely. That's why I show up on this app every day, to make people curious and to plant seeds and to hope people can start to think,
You're on there every day to make money. Like, please stop. Because if I could see what you were doing as actually providing some good, I wouldn't say that. But you're not providing any value. So it's just a way to provide for yourself. I'm just going to say that. I know that's a harsh criticism, but it's the reality. That's why you're doing it, because you're trying to get poor people that are suffering with certain issues, and you're trying to take their money and give them a pie in the sky thing that you dress up as intuitive eating that ultimately isn't even going to help.
maybe the beliefs that I hold about bodies aren't true, and I've learned these from my mother or previous generations or the media. If we choose to continue to try to make ourselves smaller intentionally,
So she's speaking to me.
to try to appease others
That's not why I'm doing it. I'm not a people pleaser.
or get love or get acceptance,
It's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it so I can live to spite another day. That's why. She didn't list that reason. Sorry, Fine Food Freedom. You didn't list it.
or whatever that thing is, we're never going to be happy, and it's never going to yield.
Happiness is a fleeting emotion. So by that standard, none of us are ever going to be happy. Happy comes and goes. Don't get caught up in that.
Yield that long-term love and acceptance. And it's
she's
never
saying.
going to yield that long-term love, and whatever that thing is, we're never going to be happy, and it's never going to yield that long-term love and acceptance, because bodies are meant to change. And no matter how your body shape shifts, if that person believes XYZ about larger bodies,
I would say that you can look aesthetically better from losing weight, for one. For two, you can, I don't know, like, get acceptance. I don't know. That sounds weird. Like, I think that has a lot more to do with, like, your personality, how you conduct yourself, how you do certain things, who you associate with, all these different things. I think that matters a lot more. I think getting healthier can really help with all of that. So being healthier can help with acceptance, because you can see kind of where you fit in. You can become more socially aware. Like I've described so many times on my channel that my hypothyroidism got so severe. I call it the hypo haze. I couldn't see social dynamics as well. I couldn't handle relationships as well, romantic relationships as well. I was so insecure. I had so much anxiety over like if a guy would text me back or not or something like that. I don't feel any of that anymore because I'm not as hypo. So it just makes everything so much easier. I'm not struggling or constantly feeling like I'm in a power struggle with people all the time. Like the hypo haze is awful to exist in, but it comes from physical health issues causing mental health issues. And people who are super morbidly obese, they often have hypothyroidism because the weight is highly estrogenic, and estrogen opposes thyroid hormone. So if your estrogen is really, really high, you probably are hypo even if you're producing normally, because the weight itself is an issue on a hormonal level. So you have to be aware that being super morbidly obese, it will affect a lot of things in your life, particularly if your health goes down the toilet. And if you can get your health in order, then you just become who you are. You're not ill anymore. You're not as mentally ill because you're physically healthier. And then it's easier to get acceptance. For sure. I've found it a lot easier to be accepted. I'm not even thin, but I'm healthier. So I think we have to acknowledge a lot of different things that obesity affects in an individual that could affect somebody's ability to be accepted. Because if you're acting unhinged all the time, if you're picking a fight with everybody all the time, and we've seen a lot of especially fat acceptance people that clearly have these issues where they're always fighting, they're always in power struggles, they're always lashing out, having a lot of, putting someone on a pedestal and then throwing them off, like all these different things. It comes from anxiety first and foremost, and hypothyroidism causes anxiety. So I think it's really important that we acknowledge physical basis and physical roots of certain mental health issues. Not all, it's very individual, but in my case, it was a major aspect to a lot of issues that I've had on a relational level, both platonically and romantically and familially, like in my family. So she's wrong. That's the point. You're wrong. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Okay.
Then it's only a matter of time until our body is not accepted. As a certified intuitive eating counselor,
I can't even.
A big part of my job is helping people challenge their belief systems around food, around body size, both their own and other people's bodies, so they can live a life that genuinely improves their health physically, mentally, and emotionally, and they can be fulfilled during this life on earth instead.
You can't base that on lies. It's not going to work.
Of obsessing about food and body every single day.
Sure.
There's so much.
That's good. But you're basing it on false reality, so it's not going to last. People will eventually wake up to the delusion one way or another.
Nuance to this conversation that I could keep going and going and going, but leave your thoughts and questions below.
You heard her. Leave your thoughts and questions below. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you guys so much for listening. Oh my gosh, what a crazy take that was. But I love to be able to answer these things, or like try to provide a counterpoint to this type of stuff, and just let's try to bring us back into reality here, leaving the twilight zone. Let me know what you guys thought, and I will see you guys again tomorrow. Have a good rest of your day, night, etc. Peace.